Hey everybody, this is Doc T with Dr. Deonson.
Hey.
We got two of us here today, so we're going to be talking about some fun stuff. We got a new soundboard, mix board.
Yeah, mixed board, soundboard.
So we have new sound effects, which is the most exciting part of all of it.
So if things sound a little funky this one, we're figuring it out.
We're going to adjust the best we can. So today we're going to jump in kind of on a fun topic. It's always a topic, really, no matter where you are, who you are, what year it is. Definitely around the first quarter of the year. But we have a concept of people asking questions like, I want to get back into shape. What's the best exercise for me or routine? You get a lot of comments on F45, Orange Theory, CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, running, endurance. Like it's across the board, circuit training. So it's kind of interesting. So what we thought we'd do for fun in the first quarter, third, eighth of this, whatever it turns into, is kind of go over what you should do first, and then we'll kind of break down the differences between some of the modalities. So whenever somebody comes to us and says, hey, I want to get back in the gym. I have multiple patients doing that now. Get back in the gym, want to start training. What do I do? And I say, well, first thing is this. What's your intent? What's your goal? And almost always is get back in shape, which is not really a goal per se, but you're trying to lose some fat. Are you trying to get stronger? Are you trying to be leaner? Do you want to perform an endurance event? Do you want to go from me to power lifter or a power lifter into me? So we got to get that goal and intent lined up first. So once we get there, then we can start talking about the other stuff. So the one thing I'll always challenge my clients on is you say you want to, let's say, run a half marathon. Or no, better yet, I like this one better. I want to do a high rocks event. That's what you'll hear. I want to do a high rocks event, right? Yeah. Okay, great. When's the last time you worked out? 7 months ago. All right. Have you done anything in between? No. Okay. We have to first say, okay, you want to be a high rocks athlete. That's great. Let's go through some basics here. Your intent then is to get into shape for a high rocks event, to survive it without killing yourself. That's goal number one, right? So then we have to break down the honesty of this. How's your consistency? And what that means is mentally you're going to go, oh no, I'm in. It's like January 3rd. I joined a gym. Let's go. What it means is how consistent can you be based on your schedule? Because life is life. And then are you willing to get up at 4 a.m. and do the training if you have to? That's kind of what those break down too, right?
That's a big one.
You and I'll get up 4 a.m. and train if I have to because I want to work out. But my day after, like today, is a long day. I don't have time later today.
Yeah.
So it's either 5 o'clock this morning or not at all.
Yeah.
Now the question you question to you, looking in the mirror, person out there on the internet looking this up, are you willing to get up 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning to get the work done because you want to train for this event or not? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's a big one, especially when we're looking for the larger events. Like a high rocks, it's no joke. Dan runs a couple here.
Yeah, our resident masseuse there,
Yeah, so he's done the doubles, which is 2 people, and also he's done one by himself. He's just into it.
They're brutal.
And you see him train all the time, meaning that he'll come in before work, just doing a training session. He'll work here, and then he'll just go and do a different part of his training right afterwards.
Yeah. I've seen him do it between clients.
Yeah, between clients. I've seen that too.
Finish client, go run 2 miles, come back to another client. It's like, all right.
So does it have to be 4 a.m.? No, but we're just talking about the level of commitment that you need to it.
Yeah, true. It's not. 4 a.m. is just my favorite. But that's personal preference. But yeah, if you got like my wife, she's gonna go to work. She's gonna come home. She has an hour and 10 minutes in between the kids getting home. Yeah. Then it's swim shuttle up the wazoo. So I'll see you at 9 tonight. Yeah. So she's got a 1 window in the morning or 1 window in the afternoon, and that's it. So we're lucky our schedules are kind of all over the place. We can kind of work out and find our way. But that's still something if you're going to say, I want to get back in shape or do these things, if you don't have the commitment to getting it done. I mean, my stance is minimum 4, max 6 days a week of training.
Yeah.
Minimum
if
4.
you have some experience, yeah.
If you're under 4, if you're going 3, then there's too many days in between where you can kind of get this, you're starting to condition 2 days in a row, take 2 days off, 2 days in a row, take 2, that kind of thing. 4 days kind of helps you stay more relatively consistent. 5's probably the sweet spot for a lot of people. Yeah. 6 is probably asking you to do one more day than you really want to, depending on you.
Yeah. Yeah. And just for some clarity, that's more for like training rather than it is just for working out.
Good point. Because so let's jump on this one.
Yeah, because if you don't come from like a working out / exercise background and you're trying to get into something, 4 to 6 might be a little too much for you in the beginning, both psychologically and both physically at the same time.
Neurologically?
Yep, neurologically.
Sleeping, and that's intent. Right? So it's intent.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So let's separate this real quick. If we're training for something versus exercising. So I like fitness. Yeah. That's my thing. I just like to look like I work out. I like to feel like I work out. I like to work out. This morning I had a blast in the gym, even though it was 5:28 in the morning. I had a great time though, because it's just like, it's my time.
Yeah.
No kids, no family, no phones, no nothing, just me. Not that I need that. It's just, it's nice. My own thoughts, thought about the podcast a little bit.
Yep.
It's like a thinking space. So, but I'm exercising for fitness. So I can play with my kids, hopefully, who knows, you know, right? Whereas Dan is training for an event.
Yeah.
What seems to be every other weekend.
Just about.
So, God bless 24. So it's that's the intent. What's your intent with it all? So most people, if you're not training for an event, I find training for an event is easier, definitely more motivating. But we'll backtrack a little bit here. I like that topic that you just mentioned a second ago. Is we got somebody getting back into shape. We're talking 6-7 months off, hasn't done a thing. And here's the thing. This is interesting. 3 to 4 days a week, but I would say 2 to 3 at the gym, 1 to 2 with the functional side of things.
Yeah.
Getting things back online. Make sure your core, hips.
Especially if you haven't done anything in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty deconditioned. And it's funny. I have a handful of athletes right now. Athletes. I call all my patients athletes.
Hey, if they move, they're athletes.
Right? Their new ones came in. One of them actually does. He has 2 days a week with the trainer. He has 2 days a week of Orange Theory. I think he does another day a week of something else. Cut him across the board.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because as I walk him through things, I was teaching him how to just do an ab brace and control his pelvis. That has been an act of God. He looks like he's trying to belly dance, hula dance.
Trying to figure it out.
It's just because neurologically he's so disconnected to not just being able to do that, but what that feels like, you know, quote unquote, the normal.
Yeah.
Because he's so like taken far back from it. Even though he's been exercising and doing some good stuff, at least he's moving. You know, our saying is always, you know, move well, then move often.
Yeah.
He's moving often, not moving well. So he hurts his back. So we got him on a train here. He's going to take off here on a vacation for a couple weeks this coming week, Thursday. So we're going to meet up again one more time and go over some other exercises. But this is a difficult one because I've done this before. I made this mistake when I was young like you. Had a client come in knowing they're going to leave on a 2-week trip, but they're right on that precipice. But I've got to see them to give them the next set of exercises. So I have to embellish the restrictions on be conscientious. Don't move from exercise A to B until you really own A.
Yeah.
And then define what that means. Make sure they really understand what this is supposed to mean.
Yeah.
Just on a tangent on that one, but that's kind of was like tricky. Okay, don't do this next exercise because if you can't control it, you're going to end up hurting yourself again, which I've had happen. They come back, I tweak my back doing this again. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a very good way to look at it.
Yeah. So as long as we understand where you want to go and what our overall goal is, it helps us build out what's either your training plan or your exercise plans. I like what Doc T said. Sometimes it's easier to sign up for the event. So sometimes I like to say, hey, dude, if you don't know what you do yet, sign up for something. We'll figure it out.
I mean, a triathlon, a marathon, a half. Don't do a marathon. Half marathon.
Triathlon might be
5K. Yeah, you can do a triathlon, but you can do it's called a sprint. So sprints. It's like an 800-yard swim. It's been a long time since I've thought these numbers through. I think it's a 13-mile bike ride, and then it's going to be a 5K at the end, which is pretty doable in a 4 to 5 month window, depending on how well you train.
Yeah.
Again, the commitment to it all, which is challenging when you have real life around you too, but consistency is always a big deal. I always thought about doing one of those with a beach cruiser. And I thought people would laugh their butts off because true like Ironman, your Olympic distance and further, they use those, like they'll literally bike in 20 miles, do the race, and then bike home 20 miles or 30 miles. And it's a training modality. So I always thought showing up in board shorts and a beach cruiser would
that could be fun. That could be really fun.
Just be that guy because I'm not here seriously, but I'm here seriously. I want to compete, but I'm not beating anybody. But anyway, so that's what those are. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a very high rocks, a sprint try. I don't think powerlifting, but I've seen
some people do
the novice Olympic lifters and powerlifters, and it's.
I got a funny story about that one.
Lay it on me.
All right, so one of my older housemates, love you, Arthur, if you're still out there, if you're still listening. But yeah, there was one time he knows that I train, and he was just picking my brain on a couple things here and there. And he's one of those guys that will just kind of sign up for something like last minute, right?
Oh, the last minute guys.
All last minute guys. So like, he's a generally strong guy, and when I say generally strong, I'm not talking on like the powerlifting levels. I'm just saying if you go to the gym and you see this guy lifting something like that, you're like, oh, you think he's pretty strong.
It works out. Yeah.
So I remember it was like 2 weeks before the meet. He's like, hey, you want to sign up for this for me? I'm like, no, I don't want to sign up with this for this with you. He said, why not? You're strong. I'm like, first of all, whenever you start training for a powerlifting meet, technically you want to start that 12 to 9 weeks
Say
beforehand.
a few months ahead. Yeah.
To kind of understand the weight, understand all the calls, understand all the things that you need to do, because you're doing 9 lifts in one day. So it's not any walk in the park.
No, God, no.
Yeah. So he said 2 weeks before the event, he decided to sign up for it. And he was somewhat sad that I didn't sign up with him. But he ended up doing it. He didn't do too bad, but I asked his weight class, and I didn't talk about the numbers after that.
Like I said, I've worked a few events, SoCal weightlifting, I've been a few places. And it's kind of interesting because you have this, like you go in, you see the novice group, and it's, they might have 45 pounds on the bar.
Yeah. No, I'm so happy for him.
Yeah. Got it. I mean, the training bar I've seen too, but I'm like, but they're having fun and they're training for something. So I think that definitely, I've always read in the literature that training psychologically, training for something gets better results than just arbitrarily
100%.
exercising, right?
100%.
Especially if you're young, if you haven't trained in a while, or like my lifting years, I think I'm 40 years in lifting now, 40 years today. And so it's one of those things where you have the experience behind you. So, it's okay. You can lift for fitness and just whatever. But if you're kind of getting back into it, it is a bigger motivator. Yeah. Especially if you sign up with a friend. Yeah. So you might have taken his motivation away from him.
I might have.
You might have demotivated
I
him.
also just wanted to make sure I was safe.
Well, because you know what you're going to try to do.
I already know because I'm competitive, and then my numbers are up there in my weight class. So I was like, I could push for the 5 whatever, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But if I haven't ramped up to that, there shouldn't be any way I should be able to touch that safely, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. 100%, yeah.
But going back to goals with that one, it's important to know what the goals are too, so we also understand the timing frame. I kind of mentioned it there with that training. We need like 12 to 9 weeks right beforehand just to make sure we peak correctly, make sure your nutrition's there, you understand what to do, you learn how to do all the small things. So when you have those goals, time is kind of a part of that as well.
Yeah, time. Time with the endurance events, running, stuff like that, a little different.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because that's what you're doing is more of a. There's definitely more of a neurological need. Oh yeah. But before we go down those rabbit holes, let's backtrack. So when we're talking about what the best modality is, first thing you got to do is figure that piece out. The other consistency part is, or after that, is going to be the pathology, injuries. So if you have anything injured, hurt back, hurt shoulder, hurt neck, hurt toe, sprained ankle, whatever, you have to factor those in to your exercising routine or training routine to make sure that you're not aggravating those things. Oh, yeah. So that, and this is my little algorithm. I did goals plus intent plus consistency plus pathology, and then the best ability
is availability.
Yep. If you're not available mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, that's going to hinder that progress as well. And all that equals your training modality. Yeah. And the purpose of that is to say, if you want to be a power lifter, Olympic lifter, this is 5 days a week dedication. Yeah. Hour and a half minimum. I mean, hours, you're probably not going to make the strides.
Not necessarily.
You won't get the gains with a Z. I've been dying to that one. But you won't get the gains if you're doing an hour. It's just how it works. So when you got a 90-minute window and say 5 days a week minimum, well, I take my poor wife, for example, she doesn't have 90 minutes every day. So that's not a realistic, attainable goal. That's a good way to look at it, the attainability. So you have to look at that. So training modality. So we're talking about somebody who hasn't worked out for a while, want to do this, want to do that. Well, strength training is relative. Powerlifting, probably not going to work for you. So we got to break down what's your time frame, what's your consistency, availability, and then we can start answering questions, which I think is why CrossFit, Orange Theory, F45 all took off. I mean, your 50-minute classes, in and out, bam, boom. You got the timing and everything. So it's interesting, but that's kind of a good way. What are your thoughts on? I mean, that's what I think when I'm talking to a client. Like, what are all these for you before we start landing on I want to run a marathon? Yeah,
100%. I like what you said with all of that too. I think the only thing that I would add to it is honestly just, have you tried any of them? Do you enjoy any of them on just like the casual level? Like just going to a CrossFit class?
Actually enjoy running or enjoy whatever. And
like why would you want to sign up for the CrossFit Games if you've never done a snatch in your entire life?
Or just never done a brutal workout.
Or if you just don't
I'll tell you this right now, people out there listening and know, if you don't know Fran, you don't know CrossFit. That's just the way that is. Yeah. If you don't know who Fran is, then I'm not sure it's a good idea.
Yeah. So we're not saying that those exercises are bad. We're just saying like, hey, dude, like if you don't like doing this, well, why are we training for it? Is there something underlying that you want to address first? Or is it just because you want to get in shape? If it's to get in shape, maybe you could pick something else.
There's a lot of modalities. And the funniest thing is, the first thing I say when somebody wants to get back in shape, I say, great, what's your diet like? That's the first question I ask actually before any of these. I just didn't bring it up because this is more about the training part. But for those out there that are hearing this, that's one of the biggest things you have to kind of get online is your nutrition first, because you don't eat, you're never going to out-train your eating habits. It's just not possible. Under eating, overeating, poor eating, doesn't matter. So you want to get that underway first. And I think that kind of lines up with the availability. Like if your diet's not great and you start training hard, you're just going to end up in our office.
You'll feel it. You will feel it.
It's just going to get hurt. It's inevitable. So it's one of the things, get your nutrition in order. But then, get back to what you're going to do. So let's get back to, I don't really want to do barbell work. I don't like feeling like I'm going to throw up and I'm going to pass out at the end of each workout.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of fun.
Body. I still love burpees. I can't lie. Burpees are the best.
I don't.
I'm doing them tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Cool.
I'm still building the ladder right now. I'm not sure it's going to be. There's going to be kettlebells and burpees, but I can't do kettlebells right now.
No, right now. No, that's a fun little story at a different time.
I'm just shooting for 14 days this time before I screw it up. But if that's a fact, where was I going with that? Right there. You maybe bodybuilding or a functional style of training would be more apt for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As opposed to saying powerlifting, which is not, you're not going to vomit afterwards.
Sometimes you can. Or during.
You're exhausted. Yeah. Oh man, the amount of tension you're under.
Yeah.
Yeah. For an hour and a half.
But that's a great point. Because when we talk about picking these things, I didn't really like just going to the gym thinking about making my muscles hurt. To grow the size of the muscles. And I really didn't care that much about aesthetics either. So I'm like, why would I pick bodybuilding?
Right.
I'm not going to stick to this.
No.
I could get strong, which is cool, but I didn't care about any of it.
Yeah. And they always joke with bodybuilders is like, I can't walk a flight of stairs, but I can bench 300 pounds pretty easily.
Yep. And then you can hold the pose for a really long time.
I don't know how they do that. Dehydrated too.
No, that's a different strength. That's a different type of endurance.
Mindset, everything.
So I respect it. I just don't enjoy it.
God, yeah. I give props. What they put their bodies through when they do, like Jay Cutler used to get up every 2 hours and eat meat. Yeah. Eat fish. I think it was that orange roughy. Rough.
I don't remember Jay's. I remember
it's an orange fish, but I can't remember what it was. But he'd get up every 2 hours and pound orange roughy, I think it's called. Yeah, he did all the
fish.
Yeah, the fish. Yeah, and that's what he did, like constantly. Yeah. And his one big thing he said he looked forward to every day after work and training was a Coke. Yeah. He's like, look forward to my Coke. Just like gets. But that's a dedication. Not that everything else isn't, but theirs is to make the body look a certain way is.
Yeah, on the pro levels of stuff, it's different. Plus all the other stuff we're not going to dive into. No. But
but you know, powerlifters, they can be lean, they can be big, they can be fat, they can be this, that. And they're powerlifters. It doesn't matter.
Kind of the same thing with Olympic
weightlifters. It's not about the way you look, it's about the way what you move.
Yeah, 100%.
It's what you move.
How it gets done.
Right? Yeah, seriously. So back to our clients. So when you're doing that and you say you're listening to this podcast and you're using ChatGPT, you're going to the internet machine, you're doing all these things, those are the things you want you to consider. First of all, get your nutrition figured out. Then look at your schedule. You know, if you've got 30 to 45 minutes, you don't want to get a workout where you're punishing yourself. You don't have time to do the other stuff. You know, the basics, the bridges or, hip stuff or core stuff, really dedicated to making sure those pieces all work fundamentally, because you're just at the gym and you just want to hit it. Because I can't tell you how many clients are like, I didn't really warm up because I didn't have time. I didn't really cool down because I didn't have time. And I go in my head, well, then you didn't have time to work out. Yeah. You kind of miss the pieces that make the workout a workout. And so you have to be honest with your availability on that, like time, mentally, physically, emotionally, schedule-wise, get your time thing, and then start picking out what you're going to do from there. Yeah. And then from that, it's like, that's really a simple way to start. And then consistency 4 times a day. You can't go 4 times a week or more.
4 times a day.
4 times a day. I'm like, I have a buddy who does that. He's 3 times a day.
I can't do that.
Well, he works, so he does like a lot of, not coaching, like strength coaching, things like that, like personal coaching, like CEO coaching or whatever. So he has a gym in his place. So in between clients, he has nothing else to do. Yeah. So he works out again. And then works out again.
In some ways, I kind of...
we do the same thing here. It's the best thing in the world. It's actually like, let's do these things. Yeah. Because it's all right here. I used to do that all the time when I started out. I'd have 2 hours between clients. Let's go deadlift. Yep. 3 hours later, let's do pull-ups. I don't know why. It's great shape. Man, I ate I ate all the time. I had a seafood diet.
You kind of have to eat all the time if you're training hard.
You can't not eat. Yeah. You're miserable.
That's a different topic for a different time.
Different time for sure. Yeah. So we got into that, and then now let's get into the lifting, the more fun part we like to talk about. So we got you figured out, but now you need help with the decision making. So we understand you got to work on your food, figure out your intent, whatever that may be realistic with it. Understand muscle burns fat, cardio burns calories. So when you're thinking about these things, you understand that one piece, and we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper here in a second. You got any pathologies, injuries you got to take care of. Make sure you're taking care of your body if you want your body to take care of you.
Yeah.
That's kind of expectations, right? And then your availability. You got to be honest with this piece because it's the commitment part.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people come in. It's always the joke at the beginning of the year, but they come in the gym. You know, the gym's packed January 1st to 30th.
Yeah.
By February 12th, it's empty. That's a lack of consistency and commitment, availability to get these things done. So, and it does take time. It's just not one of those things that's next week, here I go.
Yeah.
Although my body does heal in 7 days, I've learned.
Oh.
And it doesn't. It's a joke. Every 7 days I keep hurting myself. I feel better.
Well, I keep treating you.
Yeah, so you do a really good job. That's what happens. You treat me in 7 days and magic happens.
Yeah,
and then we can get back to it.
That's also
I managed to get through this morning without hurting myself. Shocker. So let's start off with powerlifting. I mean, that's your jam.
Yeah, that's
so
my fun part.
let's if you're out there contemplating or curious about a powerlifting world, like what is powerlifting?
Yeah, so powerlifting is basically what I call the big three. We've already kind of had this discussion of what is the big three. Colloquially, that is your squat, bench, and deadlift. And really, you're just focused on getting those numbers as big and as heavy as you want them to be.
Okay, let's just chime in real quick.
Yep.
So let's take a punch or a checklist of this. So we got bench, squat, dead.
Deadlift. Yep.
So if you have somebody who has a shoulder replacement, is powerlifting the best place to probably head?
It probably wouldn't be the first one that I would go toward.
We want to start somewhere else,
Yeah,
right?
we would start somewhere else. There's different ways we can kind of get around it. I've seen
sure.
But I probably wouldn't say like if you are starting from ground zero, this would be the best
We're
thing.
6 months off, haven't done anything, want to get back in the gym. I want to do something. Got a hip replacement, got a shoulder replacement, knee replacement. Maybe we go a different direction to start.
Yeah, at least to start. And then we kind of figure things out from there.
Not saying you can't do it. Saying is that's probably not where I'd start doing it.
Yeah.
Because that's pretty high volume right off the bat.
High volume, and then it can be in certain positions where it might not be best for the joint itself.
Yeah, it's already worn down and replaced. Yeah.
Especially if we start talking about like pushing a really heavy weight. When you hear me say RPE 9, that should only feel like you have one left in the tank. And you're just pushing it as hard as you can. So you're going to be in some compromised positions here. So it might not be the best for you at that moment.
Yeah, 6 months starting out week one. Let's go somewhere else first.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Continue.
Yeah, in terms of like the world of powerlifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, you're going to have to understand the commitment level to it, especially to get good. Obviously, if you're just going to go work out, I'm not going to pull your chain on anything.
Well, it's like a training session.
Yeah, a training session.
What's it look like? What are you doing today?
Today, not working out today.
Well, then yesterday, whenever you worked out last.
What you're looking at is you're probably going to hit what's called your top set of your main lift for that day. So that's going to be either your squat, your bench, or your deadlift, and that's going to be one of the heavier things that you do. Normally, it's going to be a single, meaning that you're just doing one, or a triple. So you're hitting three, like a set of three of heavier weight here, and then you have your back down sets. Outside of that, you have what's called I love this part for powerlifting. They call it accessory work, which is basically what you should be doing, especially as a bodybuilder. So anytime you see a bodybuilder do biceps versus like a powerlifter do bicep curls, usually you can tell the commitment level of the powerlifter at that point, because if they're doing them, they're committed.
They're committed. Yeah. They don't like it.
They don't like it,
but they're going to do it.
Yeah. So they're called accessories rather than training for them, but you should be getting them in. And that's usually what your day is going to look like. But because you are pushing near your maxes, when we're talking about like 90%, 80%, whatever that is, you will be gassed after one lift, and you're going to laugh at how gassed you are. So you have to factor in rest in between. I know some books will say 2 to 3 minutes. You'll probably need a little bit more.
I always did 4 to 5.
Yeah, I was closer to 5.
Yeah.
And how I know is I'll be listening to a song, and if the song changes, I probably should go up again.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
It was always a song. Yep. And it was always like a 80s song. I don't know what 80s music was my jam.
Well, I mean, that was like the era you grew up in.
Yeah. I'm that old. That's cool. That's true. Yeah. Okay. So, and then what would be, if that's would you call that set again? There was a one
rep max or your primary?
Primary, yeah. So what's another non-primary workout?
Yeah. So you'll have your secondary days, which means that it could be the same lift that we're talking about. We'll just reference the bench press on this one. So we'll do my primary heavier bench press on, let's say, Wednesday or whatever that is. And then on the back end of the week, you're going to do what's called a secondary bench press day. meaning that it's still going to be a bench press, but it won't nearly be as heavy as what you were just touching that first day.
Okay, almost like a deload.
Like in some ways it's a deload. I say it's like the neuromuscular re-education or the greasing of the wheels.
Greasing the wheel. I love that. Greasing movement.
You only really get better at those motions by doing those motions.
Agreed.
So sometimes you're just going to do the motion again, but with much lighter weight. Really focus on some technique. So that might be a pause, that might be a close grip type of bench. So a different, I don't need to jump on all the rabbit holes.
No, that's okay. Just a general idea. People like, I want to kind of, we love doing this because we kind of inform you like, hey, I'm curious about this. What does it look like? Well, that's what it looks like. Yeah. And when you're done, you're done.
No, you're done. I have trouble walking.
You don't want to go to Disneyland afterwards.
No.
That's not going to be, although you eat everything in sight.
Oh, yeah, I do. Fish tacos afterwards. It's amazing.
All right. So that's powerlifting idea. And then you got something with strength training, which is kind of like a bodybuilding version. You know, your back and buys, chest and tris, shoulders, calves.
A fun word that recently came up for that. They call it power building. So it's like powerlifting, but in bodybuilding together. So you get really okay at both of them, not great at either of them.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Like in some ways, for the general person, I kind of like it. But
interesting.
Yeah, that's the newer word for it.
There's something we've forgotten about the algorithm up top. Age.
Oh yeah, that's a big one too.
I mean, and not even in a bad way. Just that if you're 62, 6 months deconditioned, is different than 21, never having worked out before.
100%.
Just different. Yeah, interesting. Okay. I just thought of that in the sense of what you were saying there. And like, oh yeah, the age, we have to consider that too when we factor it in.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of gymnastics and strength training in the beginning for a lot of people because it's very controllable.
Yeah.
Meaning gymnastics, things like ring rows, push-ups, lunges, bear crawls, squats, air squats, toe touches, like RDLs, things like that. It's just a controlled environment. And the one thing that my pet peeve of myself in my training years was I was never great, or I shouldn't say that, I didn't focus on the body control when I started lifting. It was all about the weight.
Yeah.
So what can I move? But controlling your own body, which a lot of us, when we get to our 40s and 50s, that's really where the problems start to kick in.
We start to feel it.
Because we can't do it. And gymnastics, I mean, you see gymnasts, they're not slouches when it comes to body strength. So, I think all sports can benefit from that modality.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting combination. That's where I like to start. Like, even when I want to run a marathon or half marathon, I say get stronger first, hit the gym first, like get in shape and then go run. Don't run to get in shape kind of thing. So I do see that for me as my like starting point for a lot of people. I mix in a functional side. So bodybuilding is just what it sounds like. It's very simple, it's not rocket science.
Yeah.
If you're doing powerlifting, this is a good one. The difference between a bodybuilding and powerlifting, you're bodybuilding, let's say this, you're 3-4 months into exercising and you're doing a bodybuilding type of process.
Yeah.
You can play with things like rep schemes and rest cycles and things of that nature, mix up the movements and whatever, make things compound versus singular, what have you.
Yeah.
In the power side, you got to be very careful because of the neurology of it all. Meaning that in bodybuilding, yes, you can attack the nervous system, but most people aren't going to go for 1RMs in bodybuilding. That's not the purpose.
Yeah.
Powerlifting, that's literally the purpose.
Yeah, you're going for the 1RM.
And I tell people, like, never hold your breath when you're exercising unless you're doing a 1RM. Because then you need God,
all of it.
everything, whatever you believe in, you need it all to get that. Because there's days, man, it's a day.
It's a day.
Yeah, it's a day. Yeah. So, and that's the bodybuilding side. So people out there, like, I would probably say go working towards a 5-day, if you're brand new, been 6 months, almost irrelevant of age too. Really doesn't matter how old you are. That's a great place to start, in my opinion. What do you think?
Just for the powerlifting or bodybuilding?
Bodybuilding.
Yeah, bodybuilding. Yeah, there's a lot of basics that you learn from bodybuilding, like what's good technique. Well, hopefully, what's good technique.
Yes, that's technique's the tricky part. That's the part that's hard to say on a podcast because you can't go through every movement and show video on every movement. This and that. And believe it or not, opinions do vary. Yeah. There's low bar back squats and high bar back squats, and there's variations of that. There's RDLs and there's deadlifts, and there's a lot of variations. Yeah. So, but when it comes to just basically, hey, I want to hit the gym and start out, this is where I kind of plop you. Yeah. This is where I put a lot of people who are, especially over 40, just get your muscles used to contracting and moving again. Yeah. And then we'll make it complex.
Yeah, and this is no shot against the bodybuilders, but I would say it's on the lower end of athletic motion, but it's just strength.
Oh,
strength based. I know.
He said it.
I know, I said
That was him, not me.
But what I mean by that is we're not really focused on throwing a ball or catching anything, so there's less variables on things. You're focused on isolating a muscle here.
Yeah.
And that might be easier for some people to do rather than, hey, let's go learn a clean and jerk. And that's really complex.
So that's Olympic lifting, and that's something where you start bringing in complexities. Even powerlifting, there's complexities to the technique of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like the whole arching the back off the bench.
That's different. Yeah.
That's, I think, for most people, not a good idea. But for the purpose of the sport, so there's a difference between sport and exercise, right? Training, using exercise to train for a sport is different than your sport is your exercise.
Yeah, two different things.
And so Olympic lifting is like, that's Olympic lifters, like power lifters. I mean, they're 2-hour-long sessions.
No, they're long.
They're not.
And it's mostly sitting. That's the funny part.
I do 90% of it. It's crazy. Sitting and talking trash and recovering and trying to, find your brain cells again.
Oh, yeah.
But again, like Olympic lifting, I think is great too. But I always kind of fall back into that base strength training with a mix of functional training. And let's just jump into what that is. Functional training truly is more about the idea of good control of your body in all positions. Yeah. Meaning your hips are in a good position, your core is firing accurately and on time, and everything else moves in coordination with each other. Yeah. Do you know my number one favorite functional move to diagnose people with movement dysfunctions?
Is it squat or is it lunge?
Nope. Either one.
I thought it was
full body.
Full body.
What's my favorite one? We don't hang out as much as we used to because our office times are different sometimes.
I don't
Turkish get up. Yeah, Turkish get up. And I figured this out. So this is a funny story. Yeah. So patient, I was teaching that to 2 days ago. So in our gym, we have the rubber flooring, normal. And then we have a mat that's a little softer on top of it, right? So I feel like I'm hunched over here. I missed pick this up. So he got on the floor and I was teaching him kind of how to do a Turkish get up. So the edge of the mat, so the rubber floor is here. I'll use this. So the rubber floor is like underneath this, and then there's a little ledge right there, and that's the mat. So it's just a soft mat, nothing big, right? So I watch him get ready with the arm in the air, and he starts to go up, and his other hand was on the corner of the mat grabbing it. He was trying to use a mat, which he cannot use. There's no leverage. It's going to come with you. But neurologically and psychologically, he knew he was weak there. So that was his cheat code to try to help him, even though it doesn't. But in his brain, his body said, oh, this helps. Yeah. And it's ever so lightly of a touch. And I was watching it like, okay, so he's weak. And he only did it from left to right, did not do it right to left.
He couldn't do it right
to left? So left to right is his weakness.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So when we talk function, we're looking like transverse planes and rotations and anti-rotations, just all kinds of things, childhood development. I think there's a technique, DNS or DSN or...
I think it's DNS.
Yeah, something like that, where they kind of look and focus on these ideas of childhood development and babies and so forth. Functional training is basically that. Yeah. So when I watched that diagnostically showed me, okay, he's got a problem there. So we have to look at that. Yeah. But that's my favorite functional exercise. So that's, when you talk function, it's like a Turkish get up. Then we get into some single leg work, balancing, breath, of course. And you mix that in with some strength training. That to me is like my sweet spot, I feel like, because we're getting people to really start to understand how their body feels versus trying to, like a bodybuilding typically is, I'm just moving this weight. Yeah. But I want you to feel how your body moves, not just you're moving. Yeah. Any take on the functional world?
Yeah. I mean, I like a lot of it, especially when I start throwing rehab stuff at patients. I'm looking at what they're lacking or what they don't do oftentimes. So especially if it's like a powerlifter. I know I had one of them come in. He's doing great right now too, if you want to ask him about that. Yeah, we were so focused in the first 4 weeks of just getting the same motions down. We weren't getting anywhere, and then I realized I should probably check the other stuff too. So check lateral, check rotational stuff, and guess what? After that, turned a corner. So there is a level of that has to happen too.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, so how many lifts, if you're in a competition for powerlifting, how many lifts are you doing that day?
So not counting warm-ups, 9.
Okay, counting warm-ups.
Counting warm-ups, it depends on the coach and what they want to do. Normally, I've seen about like 3 or 4 right beforehand, more like 3.
So 20, 30, 27?
27-ish. Yeah.
And that's weight. You're not moving. It's like, so
yeah, this
his knee rehab deadlift at 315 is what we're talking about. So we're laughing at that. Yeah. So if you take that and you go, okay, there is a component of endurance in there. There is a cardiovascular endurance component. So yes, you have to be efficient with oxygen. Yeah. Not monumentally in CO2 actually, because you will hold your breath. So it's called CO2 tolerance, and it's what your brain and everything can handle when you hold your breath and it builds up. Or doesn't it get rid of the O2 because you don't have enough? And that's another long podcast for another time. I wonder if my buddy come on here. I had a friend of mine come on here who really explained it well. But nonetheless, it's still an area of endurance. So there is a piece of that. But we would do, so as a I was an endurance coach years back, and I only bring that up in this sense. We had marathoners that want, they run forward. It's I call it linear sport. They go forward.
Yeah.
They never factor in the rotation components of it all, right?
Yeah.
Lifters, both feet on the ground, both hands on the barbell, hopefully.
If not,
Don't
just
slip.
let it go.
Yeah, run, just run, bail, man.
Yeah.
So we would call that a very linear, bilateral affected sport. So you're not really challenged in any other planes of motion if you break it down kind of like oversimplify.
Yeah.
But if you really think about it, at no point in time is one leg and the other leg pushing 50-50. Ever.
Yeah.
Grabbing the barbell, bench pressing, it's not 50-50.
No.
I've never seen a straight bar go up, right?
Nope.
It's always a little
Especially once you're getting closest to your max.
100%, right? So when that's happening, Olympic lifters, same thing. When all that's going on, that means you're applying ground reactive forces and you're differentiating from side to side. That becomes a lateral rotational component, right? And if we took video cameras from back and front and side to side, you're going to see wavering and rotations and all kinds of stuff. It's a 3D movement. So when you broke that down, it finally you go, oh, I need to check the other two planes because I'm looking at one, and we don't exist in that world, right? That's actually the most intellectual thing I've said all day today, all week, I think, probably.
There you go.
But we're 3D people, animals, humans, movements, right? So you have to look at all planes of movement, forward, backward, left to right, and rotational.
Yeah.
And even though your movement pattern in your sport is completely up and down, right? That's it. Only gravity, but there's all those other complements.
Yeah. 100%.
So it's funny when you break it down, that's really what you're after.
Yeah. Like we're not robots. So although our goal is to move in as minimal planes as possible.
And efficiently as possible.
Things can happen, right? And so we often see it in the person that gets injured on the weird part where it's like they come down and then the bar gets hit and then they rotate just a little bit and then sometimes their back feels a little funky afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't train in that area.
That plane and whatever, yeah.
So your body probably wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be there, which means something else probably broke down.
Yeah, but it can happen.
Oh,
so,
it's sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as, this is always a debate with CrossFit, I always thought it was funny. Is it a sport or not? I said the training aspect of it is just training. It's exercise, like bodybuilding. The sport is in the competition.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just goes by the same name. That's all it is. Powerlifting,
Same thing.
Cycling, but like triathlon. With triathlon, the sport, the competition is in the swim, bike, run.
Yeah.
But training is in different things. So it's not a swim competition.
No.
It's just part of that competition. So those are all different things. So I love those debates. They're always great. But to my mind, if you're competing, that's a sport.
Yep.
Period. If you're just training, then you're just training.
Yeah.
And that's
different.
it. It's really simple.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so probably right. So back to the topic that we're trying to cover and not be all of it. We're not spray painting too bad.
We're not too bad. We're
staying in our lane.
We're getting better.
Yeah, we're getting better for sure.
Yeah.
But we get into that, like this is what Doc T would say. I would start off with some function stuff, some basic stuff, and a little strength training, and just kind of as you progress, then you can decide or move on or what have you. And the reason we say this is not our opinion. It's not us going, well, this is what we think you should do. It's more like you're telling us what you want to do. Here's your goal, your intent, what have you. We're telling you how to get there.
Yeah.
If you're telling us you got 30 minutes, 3 days a week to train, and that's it, and you want to be a power lifter, I'm going to break your heart now. I'm not going to wait 6 months from now when you find out on your own. That ain't going to work.
Yeah.
It ain't going to work. I want to train for the Olympics. I had a buddy of mine.
I have no story about that.
Right, segue. He wanted to run a marathon.
Yeah.
And this was one of those bucket lists on a whim. I want to run a marathon. Okay, cool. What are you doing for training? I run a 5K every other day.
Every other day.
That's it. On a treadmill, nonetheless.
Okay, so yeah.
So it's assisted. He got to the marathon. He finished. Congratulations to him. This was years ago. But this is the best part. He was on mile, I want to say it's 21, 22. Don't quote me, but I think it's something like that. He's not a drinker at all. And he said at mile 19 into 20, all he wanted was a beer. That's all he could think about in his brain. He couldn't get out of his brain. At mile 21 or 22, he was about 100 yards or so behind, I want to say it was a 58-year-old grandma or a 62-year-old grandma. It was right in that 60 range.
Yeah.
And we were like, how did you know that? He said, because on the back of her T-shirt, it says, I'm a 60-year-old grandma beating you. Because she knew if you're behind her, she's beating you.
Yeah.
And she beat him. He goes, with all my power, I could not get there and catch her. And I was like, that sucks. At the time, he was like a 24-year-old 6'4" volleyball player, amazing shape, but he only did
Yeah.
the 5K every other day. So 3, maybe 4 days a week, which for you out there, if you're going to run a marathon, that is not going to work. Nope. You'll finish, but you didn't do well for about a week after that.
Yep. No, I get that.
But that's one of those things. So that's where we talk about, hey, be honest with what time you got time frame you got, what you can do, and then train within that realm.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a friend, really, really strong powerlifter. He has I think it's like a 600-pound deadlift, 500 something squat, 400 something bench, right? So like he's really strong, and he's only in like the 190-ish pound category. I forgot the actual category that he's in. I don't pay attention to the higher ups. I stay where I'm at.
85 kilos or something
like that.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, dude, I want to go to Olympic weightlifting, and I want to see if I can compete in the Olympics. I'm like, first of all, 2 different types of sports, right?
As an Olympic lifter?
Yeah. I was like, first of all, when was the last time you lifted? He's like, high school. And I was like,
that's where you try to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
buddy,
I told him straight to his
talk.
face, because like we're good friends. Like that's not gonna happen. I was like, first of all, you don't have a coach. Second of all, just because you're strong doesn't mean you're powerful. And what we mean by that, because I realize not a lot of people understand the differences, even though it's called powerlifting, it's technically not a power motion. No. Yeah, it's strength is how much you can lift. Power is how much you can lift and how fast you can lift it really fast.
Yeah. It's moving it from point A to point B. The one thing is interesting is there's no. This is the funny. Here's the thing I just thought of. In Olympic lifting, it's how well can you catch it.
Yeah.
In powerlifting, it's how well can you get the hell out of the way after you lift it.
It can't be. It can't be.
It's up. Get off me. And so it's funny. I just thought of that. When you clean, you're catching.
You're catching. Even the snatch too.
400 pounds, and the snatch is still by far the most technical move.
Yeah, kicks my butt.
I'll probably say it all the time. It is. Yeah. You watch somebody hit that the right way, just hit it smooth
and hit it heavy,
and you're like, "Oh, that was beautiful." It's like that perfect drive or that amazing putt from 30 yards out. It's akin to that.
They're 2 different things. So just because you are in shape for one thing doesn't mean it's always going to transfer over. Hence why we kind of go back to goals.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
I think this is as strength is how much you can move. Power is how well you can move it.
Yeah, and how fast you can.
How I equate that to.
Yeah.
But that's a very
2 different things. I had to tell him straight to his face, hey, that's not happening.
Okay. I got another story. This is the best part. This is that time of the show now. We can kind of dive into some stories. So I had a good buddy of mine who was out drinking one night with his friends and lost a bet to run a 50-miler. He is a 6'1", 265-pound strength guy.
For 50 miles.
And he was a little out of shape at the time. Not out of shape. He lifted, but he also ate and drank. So he had a little belly on him. Yeah. Not fat, just a belly on him. And he wanted to run a 50. And so he came to me, I think about 3 months into his training. And he came in and he had some shin stuff going on, a little low back ache, this and that. I'm like, what are you training for? Knowing the guy. And he's like, I lost the bet, and he gave me the story. And it's a 50-miler. And I was like, okay. Now, I'm not a big fan of running long distances. I think there's a lack of training benefit. Like my patient who's doing 1,000 burpees for time, you kind of went past the benefit of training now. Now you're just surviving and not dying. And so I was like, why are you doing a 50? And he goes, well, this and that and the other. I said, okay, when's the last time you ran 25? And he's like, I haven't yet. And he's of the CrossFit mindset. So he's a guy I've known for years from CrossFit time. I said, what are your distances? And he's like, I'm running, between like 5 and 10 and kind of mixing them around. I said, speed training? He's like, a little bit. I said, but nothing past 25 so far. And it's 3 or 4 months into training now. And he's 3 or 4 months out. And here's the funniest part. Because he goes, well, I thought you don't really need to do that. And I said, for a marathon, you should hit 15 or so just because of little things like toenails, chafing, nutrition, hydration, electrolytes, those things that keep you alive. Yeah. That would be a good thing to do. And he kind of laughed. He's like, yeah. I said, the one thing is you're going to see little green people out there. Do you even know what that looks like or feels like? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, go run 25 miles. Prepare yourself, train for that first. Yep. Give yourself, say, 6 weeks from now. I think as long as run that time would be like 13 miles. Train for that. Eat, nutrition, hydrate, sleep, all the good stuff. I think I said 3 or 4 weeks. You're going to go run 20 miles, 22 miles. And let's see how you do. And you come in to see me after. Yeah. So he finished that. And he came in and saw me 2 days after, 3 days after. Came limping in, lost a toenail, gone, blew it up. I think he had blister on the back of his ankle, chafed in his thighs. Because mind you, it's a 260-pound lifter. Yeah, so his thighs are stuck together anyway. Now he's running for 22 miles, right? Chafed the heck out of it because he didn't wear the pants he needed to. Cramped, I think mile like 18, 19, had to walk almost the rest. He kept going. I was like, all right, well, you know what it feels like. And then my first question was, Any green people? You start laughing. He goes, no, but you'll see him. Don't worry, because that just your brain just goes to another world, another
It
space.
doesn't care anymore.
No, it doesn't at all. But that is like one of those things where you're going, okay, what's your intent? What's your goal? 50 miles. Okay, now we need the realistic adaptation to this. What do you need to do to survive that?
Yeah.
And that's another example of one of those like, I want to be a power lifter or Olympic lifter in the Olympics. Well,
let's go do a local meet first.
one, are you sure?
Yeah.
And two, let's go local. Let's try a small one.
Yeah.
Let's see how because people like Olympic lifting still blows my mind.
Yeah.
Powerlifting somewhat, but you're not really the deadlift and squat you are, but bench press you're not really.
Yeah.
But you're staring at a crowd of people 6 feet away as you're about to move weight really fast.
Yeah.
And catch it, which is I never thought about it from that angle.
Just catching.
You're catching 200, 300, 400 pounds. And then standing with it and then doing something else with it.
Yep.
And you're going to do that in front of people with judges on 3 different sides that you have to wait till they all flag you down to drop the barbell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's aim a little lower in the Olympics to start.
Yeah.
Just start.
Start there.
We'll get there. That's great.
Yeah.
That's local event.
100%.
Sounds great.
Start with realistic goals, and
Way better.
We always keep coming back to that point, but
honestly, we're not being Debbie Downers.
No.
It's just
yeah.
Try to be realistic.
It's like we want you to be set up for success here. So like if your
100%.
goal is the Olympics this year, which is first of all
2028 coming up.
Yep. That might not be realistic, especially because like those guys have been training their entire lives for that moment.
6, 7 years old. Yeah.
It may not be a realistic goal. So whenever we talk about goal setting and everything like that, we go back to it because it is really important. And whenever it gets to like the tough part of training for something, I just look back at what I want to hit. So I talk about like wanting to hit like a 500-pound squat, which for my size and for where I am in competition.
500?
Yeah, 500 would be cool. I'm at like 465 right now. But pre knee injury, but like it'd be cool. So whenever training days suck, I look back to the goals. I'm like, okay, this is
motivation.
This is why we're here. This is what we're doing.
Yep.
Yep.
You want those goals to be real but attainable.
Yeah.
And not like realistic and attainable is really what it comes down to. And it's not that we're not Debbie Downers. We have done so much.
Yeah.
I mean, me more than you, knock on wood for me or for you, I guess. Yep. It's wood. That we've experienced the do's, the don'ts, the good, the bad, whatever. Yeah. And so it's fascinating when you have the older people. Like I think he was 34 when this 50-miler popped up. Yeah. And I'm just in my head like, I just hope nothing tears.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. So it's the realistic goal and then the attainable goal.
Yeah.
And then the ability to get, like, to do this stuff. And if you can't put because athletics and sport are no joke.
Yeah.
I can, from my own personal experience with professional athletes, what I see them do in the off season is still more than most people do at any part of their training modality, right?
Yeah.
They still do a boatload.
Yeah.
And then in season,
they're still doing stuff.
It's insane. Yeah. So you got to think, like I watch the guys come off the field, guys being the Chargers, LA Chargers, let's go. 2025, looking good. They'll come off the field from practice and they'll spend the next 30 to 45 minutes doing functional pain in the butt.
Yeah. I
mean, the one trainer, the head trainer, they do something now where they do like suitcase carries. I have to share this because it was the coolest thing in the world. Yeah. And I don't think I've shared it yet. So they got the weight here and they put some padding underneath this other side. If you can't see the video, my arm's bent by my side. But they're squeezing it while carrying the other weight. The weight's like 70, 80, 90 pounds. So they're doing some weight, right? And then we're walking and they're contracting each side, which straightens them up. So if you don't have anything over here, you'll lean. Yeah. So this actually counterbalances that weight. Yeah. And I was like, I tried it, way better. It was fantastic. Anyway, so these guys come off the field and I'm watching them do all these things, carrying 140-pound med balls, 3 football fields and come back again. Yeah. That's dedication to training. 100%. Like that's their job. They're paid to play, so it's expected. Yeah. The people watching this, probably not paid to play. You're probably paying to play. Yeah. So be smart about it. Yeah. That's where we're going with that.
But the small tangent I want to go off of that one, they're still lifting and training in season. So whenever you hear like a college or even just like the high school coaches that don't want you to do that in season, I disagree with that one.
So here's the funny part. This is interesting because this has been only again because I get to see it firsthand. Yeah. And it's a privilege and an honor to watch these type of athletes really perform up close nonetheless. But the training is interesting. When you've got a 29-year-old vet linebacker, they don't need to get any bigger. Yeah. Off season they could train like that, maybe add a pound of muscle or 2. They're pretty freaking big and strong. They don't need a lot more than that. And I went, remind me to bring that up. Cool. So then they're training to keep their muscles active, alive, elastic, and healthy. Yeah. healthy tissue makes you available. Unhealthy tissue makes you unavailable.
Yeah.
And the best ability we got
is availability.
I love that saying.
Yep.
Coach said that to me. I'm like, oh, stolen. Of course, you hear it all the time now.
Yeah.
So, I want to get over the endurance side. So,
Yeah.
there's a test a good friend of mine put me through. Just check it's oxygen consumption, like how your body deals with it, the CO2 toleration when you're holding your breath and it's in your brain, how well your tissues handle stress, and just all these kind of stuff. It masked me and centered me and whatever.
Yeah.
And the point of that story was a football player, not saying his name anymore, coming over was supposed to, so I have to edit that out.
Okay. I'll flag that.
Zip. So this test is on I call it an Aerodyne bike because I'm old, but the assault bike's the new version of it all.
I call it a death bike.
Yeah, that's also, well, for a powerlifter, it's definitely a death bike.
Yeah.
So I hop on that thing, and it's basically 80 watts for 3 minutes. And they check the breathing and how your tissue saturation, how your body handles it. Then 1 minute cold turkey stop, pick the feet up, hands off, and just sit there. 3 minutes at 120, 3 minutes at 180. Then I think 3 minutes at 220, which is kind of challenging on a bike. Because this thing, 3 minutes is a long time, especially when I'm not a endurance guy in any way, shape, or form. And then after that, you hit 3 minutes at, he says max out, but you have to maintain it for 3 minutes.
I couldn't do that.
So your wattage, has to be appropriate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big dumb oaf, so I'm like, let's crush this sucker. So I pushed it past 500 for like 10 seconds and was like, yep, we're not doing that. And I think I got down to like 440, 450 watts, and I held it for 3 minutes. Now it sucked, but in no way, shape, or form was I going to go into 440. Now I was like, my ego is full on to this thing. So we finish up, and my buddy's looking at my numbers, and he's watching things. He's like, you just go ahead and keep on spinning because your body's not letting go of anything right now. Lactic acid, everything was not being released into the body and let go. So I just spun about 15 minutes, actually. I was sitting there, we're talking, and he said a person that he did this with did 1,250 watts for 3 minutes. And afterwards felt like he probably had more in tank. He just wasn't sure, because if you're not a cyclist, you don't understand what 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 6 minutes looks like to you. So he did that, and I'm sitting there laughing going, oh, you forget. Those pro athletes, the ones that are paid to play, are machines that are just insane. So to your buddy who wanted to be an Olympic lifter, you're kind of like, I'm not sure you're understanding what we're talking about.
like it would be sick.
Your 1RM is what they're warming up with in the back.
Yeah.
And so,
and some of them are 16. Because,
the young kids, you're like, freaks. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean freak in the most positive way possible. But yes.
Well, we mean that in such a good way.
Yeah, you're in awe. You're like, that's awesome.
As in, we wish we could do that.
I don't know if you remember this. In CrossFit for a while, we call women beasts. Like they'd lift something or do something, like, you're a beast.
Yep.
And it was a compliment.
Yeah.
Unless you're outside the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Then all of a sudden you get looks like, that's rude. And you're like, no, that's a good thing.
It's like, we are looking up to that.
It's not a male female. It's a beast mode. Yeah. Like, she's crushing it right now.
Yeah.
And so it's very funny. Inside sport, you have your own little, inside words, and the other side, outside world's like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, like, we always talk about how big someone is in powerlifting. So, like, if you say that in the gym and in the sports, like, oh, that's great. But if you hear that outside, like, he's just a big guy. Yeah. They're like, are you calling him fat? I'm like, no. No, that's not what I mean.
Like girls, volleyball players, basketball players, like 6'3", she's huge.
Yeah.
Like, that's rude. I'm like, no, she's an athlete.
Yeah. So
I guess it is an athlete dictionary, rest of the world dictionary. The athlete dictionary we love because it's just complimentary through the roof. Calling somebody a Sally, you're like, sandbagger. Those hit home sometimes. You're like, all right, fine.
Those are fun.
Anyway, so we got function, and then we got to your, let's go to endurance training. Yep. So I don't know if I ever told you this, years we spent together now. So endurance training, people come to me, they want to run a half marathon or marathon. I say, what's your 5K time? It's my instantaneous answer or question to them. And they'll often say, I don't really have one. Yeah, okay, I told you to go. And I say, okay, before you begin this endeavor, I want to know what your 5K time is. So go run a 5K, come back, and then let's find what time it is. Nobody's broken 20 minutes because generally you haven't been running. Yeah. And so I look at them and say, you need to break 20 minutes before you even consider a 10K half marathon distance. And they said, why? I said, because you can get fast, I can slow you down, which means your body has a good output, and now we can temper it and control it for longer distances. Yeah. If you don't have that and you run a 28-minute 5K, that means your half and your marathons are going to be in the 3+ hour range, which brings in a whole host of issues with nutrition and hydration, electrolytes, unpredictable ones. Yeah. And people go, well, I can train 18 miles, 19 miles. I said, it's not predictable because you don't know that day. The one thing that I will say, powerlifting, every sport has this component, But when you're time under tension, like in an endurance,
Yeah.
Ironman, those type of things, we were looking at like 10, 12 hours out there. Not the elite guys, but still, that is the most unpredictable place to be for every reason under the sun you could possibly think of.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's bring you to a 5K and start there. Like your buddy. Let's do a local event first.
Let's
just get our toe in the water, check it out. Let's see how it feels.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about the next one. Yeah. And then we can talk about the 10K or half or whatever. But I've never understood, maybe it's just me. Maybe you're the same way. If I'm thinking I want to get in shape, my first thought is, okay, we're in the gym, we're hitting function, we're hitting strength. Done.
Yeah.
People go, I want to run a 5K or, I'm sorry, a marathon. I'm like, why?
Oh, okay.
We have cars.
From what
Cars
I
were
understand, right? Because like, not to throw all the endurance guys under the bus.
No, I love the
yeah,
endurance guys. Yeah.
We love them, right? It's just I don't like.
We're not them.
No, I'm not that. The biggest thing, at least from what I talk about with my friends that aren't active, it's the weights can look scary.
Oh, that's true.
And running doesn't look as scary, which to me is scary.
Complete opposite.
If I cramp or if I tear something and I'm gone away from everything, I'm like, I can't do anything.
No.
At least if I'm at the gym. I know where the hospital is.
They're definitely going to be traumatic injuries. Yeah. That or basketball.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. We don't talk about any.
Reminds me of that movie. We don't talk about. Oh, my kids.
We don't talk about Bruno?
We don't talk about Bruno.
That's Coco? No, it's the other one.
I can't see it. I see it, but I can't see the. Yeah. Moana? No. Moana's different.
Yeah, all of us. You're going to hit all of us here.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, my kids right now are going, Dad, it's whatever it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we get to this. So it's funny because the endurance side, but the endurance side is dangerous in its own way because now, like, you're generally speaking as an Olympic lifter, a power lifter, a bodybuilder, you're not going to die from electrolyte imbalances, hyper or hyponemia. You're not going to die from that.
Yeah.
If you're an endurance athlete, you could die from this. Yeah. So it takes on a different seriousness.
Just a different danger.
Yeah. So when we're doctors talking to patients about what goals, intent, where they want to go, however, that's the first thing in our head is when's the last time you ran? Oh, it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And you want to run a marathon?
Yeah.
We're definitely starting small.
Now, the same friend, that signed up for the powerlifting thing. He's like,
we have similar friends. He's
just like, you want to run a marathon? I was like, absolutely not. No. I get winded up of like 3 flights of stairs right now. Yeah. This is not a
power lifter right there. Yeah. And bodybuilders too have the same.
Yeah. See, I used to be 1 flight. I got a lot better.
My cardio endurance has gone up. So that's the endurance side, and that's why we kind of always have this mindset of you're coming to us as patient to doctor. We want to make sure that we do our due diligence, do no harm, or Hippocratic oath as well. And then we want to be realistic. I've had patients go see other doctors. Well, they say they can put me on a 6-week marathon training program. I'm like, how? It's impossible. Lots of caffeine. You're not. This is not how it works. And again, it's because I'm looking at you from you're not a paid to play athlete.
Yeah, you're paying
to play.
It's different.
So let's keep in mind that after this event, you would like to go to walk and see your family and be a normal human still. Yeah. We don't want to get into rhabdo or dehydration. I had one girl. Love her. She got stuck at Irvine Lake, and it was a rainstorm, but it was also like 41 degrees. And they had to delay it because there was a lightning concern. Yeah. So they're outside, ready to swim, which means they're wearing what? A bathing suit, a cap, goggles. That's it. Yep. Standing in the rain at 41 degrees. They ended up treating like 36 athletes for hypothermia. Swear to then the ones they swam and they got out and they couldn't feel my legs, couldn't feel this. And I'm like, so endurance athletes have their own, we call it case of the crazies. Yeah. I have them, he has them, we all have them, but they have a special place in my heart with that stuff. So anyway, that's what we're talking to. We're doctors. We're here to make sure you don't get hurt. You survive the next day. Yeah. And you can walk and everything feels as good as it can depending on what you're running. So for those out there thinking, I want to run a marathon, half marathon, whatever it is, my challenge to you right off the bat is first, run a 5K. If you're not under 20 minutes, there's your starting point. Yeah. There's square one. Let's get a little stronger. Let's hit some function, let's hit some strength training, work on some speed and hill work. Let's get our cardiovascular system up a little more. Let's make sure we can handle getting under 20 minutes in a 5K. Yeah. That's really all it is. If you can do that now, and here's the other thing too. I love these things like this. That dedication, right, to your training, that consistency, that translates directly into. So your buddy, for example, does the local meet, does well. Consistent training, he was there, nutrition's on point, everything great. You've earned the right to now go do the next level. Yeah. I think that's a great way, advice-wise, Yeah.
Maybe after the local, we do state or we do national, whatever
qualify, right? Yeah.
whatever
Well,
he qualifies for.
But that's your ambition now.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
Love that. Love that.
But yeah, just kind of I'll bring it home. I know we kind of talked about some of the differences between training, what you should pick and what you should not pick. I mentioned in the beginning, but really the biggest thing is just try things. Just try it.
Like when you're a kid.
Yeah, just give it a try.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved playing basketball, so I thought I'd like the running part of stuff. I hated every single moment of it. I was fast. I could beat everyone down the court. So after using my educated brain, I realized like I could probably stick to more of the power side because I like the sprinting part of the stuff. So hey,
Like the quick power outputs,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
the duration of it all.
So let me stick there. And I had so much more fun with that.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about more of this next time. This is part
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
We got part two because I got a
There's
whole.
a lot.
I was looking to listen. We got a list of
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, this is really an involved
Yeah.
topic. I did not.
Yeah, we just don't want to talk your ears off too much. But I just noticed the time.
I do, but you won't let me. All right, so we're going to end it there. We'll get back into a few other things, CrossFit, some F45 Orange Theory type stuff, and we'll start wrapping it up with
Classes,
some of
yeah.
the functional stuff and how it all
Yeah.
matters. Getting some breath work and just talk about some good details there. So all you out there that interested, enjoyed it. Of course, comments we love.
Yeah.
Like us, follow us, send us some friends who want to hear some stuff that like this that are good.
Yeah.
This is part one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Bully Alvin to get on the podcast.
Oh, please bully Alvin.
Yeah, so leave it in the comments, please.
Please in the comments. And we'll be back next week with part two.
All right.
All right, this is Doc T.
This is Dr. David.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right, cool.